Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We're finally here. We're near here. We are at episode 0 of season 3, Dive to the Future of Free. And I've really enjoyed watching the movies the last couple weeks for free. We had the OVA, we had Starting Days, we had Take Your Marks and Timeless Medley, and those were all great. But I have really kind of missed the episode by episode, the episodic format, as much as I've loved the movies. So I'm really excited to finally, we've bookmarked and ended season 2. I feel like Take Your Marks was that solid ending to Eternal Summer. And this episode 0 is starting us off with Dive to the Future. I have no clue what to expect. I didn't even know there was an episode 0 until you all started telling me in the comments about it and not to forget about it. And then Aaron Dastardly Bastard, thank you for sending me the link to this, because I tried to find it everywhere and all I could find was like German and Spanish subtitles. And I at one time spoke a little bit of Spanish, but that was a long time ago and I have forgotten most of it. So thank you. But yeah, I have no clue what to expect. The one thing I have liked about the movies is that they've tied in these new characters that we are apparently going to be in this. So Asahi, Ikuya, Natsuya, Now, those characters, it's tied in pretty seamlessly. Kasumi and Asahi as well. And so I'm curious to see if this episode 0 is just kind of like laying the groundwork for season 3 or how that's gonna work. So my camera's glitching out, so it's gonna be wonky here, but that's all right. I've tried to mess with it like 3 times and it's not wanting to change, so maybe it'll settle down. We shall see. But in any case, I'm really excited to jump into this new season. It's the last season of Free before the movie that's apparently supposed to come out this year, which is crazy to me. And there's only 12 episodes of season 3, so and plus this one, so 13 episodes basically, and then it's gonna be like a free hiatus, and I'm not ready for that. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I've been kind of melancholy about that ever since I watched like the last couple of movies. I've been like, oh, we're getting closer to catching up with Free. Oh no. So from now on, I'm not going to talk about that until we get to like the season finale. But for now, we're just going to savor our dive to the future. So interestingly enough, I've heard that, and I've talked to several of you through the comments, that season 1 and season 2 of Free had the same art director, basically the same animation director and storyboarding, and then the OVA transitioning into Starting Day. Starting Day started a new direction, and then season 3 is officially the third direction. So honestly, I haven't noticed too much difference between the first 2 within Starting Days and Timeless Medley and Take Your Marks. I've noticed like tiny little things with humor or little things with tone shifts. Like Starting Days is a lot more somber and a lot more like down to earth and real than I was expecting. And then Timeless Medley is kind of like a recap with other scenes, and then Take Your Marks is a little bit more chaotic and goofy, but I still love it. So I've liked all the directions that Free has gone in. I've noticed little subtle changes, but it's not like when you're watching a show and suddenly there's a huge shift in direction. It's not been like that at all. So I've appreciated that. So we'll see with Dive to the Future, but I'm excited. We're going to do episode 0 here and then talk about it. So thank you all so much for watching. And yeah, let's no pun intended, let's dive into this. So we're going to start episode 0 of season 3 here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. If that is our official ED, that may be my favorite one yet. Oh my gosh. Ah! I can see why it's episode 0. It's just a transitional episode just to set up that Mako and Haru are starting their places at the university, and that so that was a nice transitional episode. I like that it's just setting up that they're getting ready for the entrance exam. They're getting suits. They looked really good in their suits. I'm just saying that ED, if that ED is our official one, I'm gonna have so much to pick apart this season with it, because it was just like everything at once. I cannot wait. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait. I hope that's the official one. But, so there's so much that's being set up in this episode to come into play. Poor Mako. Man, poor Mako getting ringed into, and he's too nice to say no, being ringed into being the mascot for that one round of the tournament. And of course, go recognize his muscles. Of course she would. I like that. Something I like about this show, and this is just something offhand, but this show pays attention to fashion and what clothing everybody wears. Like all the characters wear this have the same sets of clothing, and it rotates, but it's always the same character with the same sets of clothes. Like they don't accidentally give Mako something that Nagisa wore like 5 episodes. It's a nice attention to detail. Like in this episode, there's a lot of outfit choices, and it was not reused animation. It was just the same outfit choices from season 2 and from the movies. And I was like, oh, that's a cool detail to keep there. So with our new characters and with our old characters, obviously, I like that Samazuka, I like that Nagisa and Rei and Momo and Notori are kind of in the same boat where they've both teams have lost their 2 big upperclassmen, and so they're kind of hanging out a lot. I like that. And then our trio of Chads, the morons of Samazuka, who in the last several movies have just been hilarious. The only one I know, his name is Iwozumi, and Iwozumi has the mohawk. He has the mohawk, and he's really fun. But the other 2 guys that are with him, I don't know their names, but they're just hilarious, and I love that they're just like such bros in this episode. So a couple interesting things came out of this. One is the idea that Sosuke is not taking over the family business. No. Because they did mention that his family owns a restaurant. I was like, okay, so his family are cooks. His cousin and them are the head chef of the restaurant, filling in. So, and then Go asks if Sosuke is going to take over the family business. And he was like, well, no. And he didn't get to finish his thoughts. So I'm like, is he planning to come back and swim? Is he? He's got stuff to do before then, but the idea that he's not, because he told Rin he was going to take over family business, and now he's having second thoughts. So it's like, okay. Rin's in Australia, and there's a lot of characters, like new characters in the OP, which I feel like I'm going to have to like go through and be like, some shady looking characters in the OP too. I'm like, okay. We've never really had antagonists in Free before, and I'm going to get to that. We're going to get to that. But we've never really had an antagonist. So in the OP, it looks like there's a couple characters that look a little antagonistic. So I'm actually kind of excited because it'll be something new for Free to have an actual antagonist. We'll go ahead and talk about it because so far in the series, they've all been kind of like fake antagonists, like fake outs. Like the first season, we all thought it was going to be Rin. No, Rin's actually one of the protagonists. He's not an antagonist. It was just he was his own worst enemy. And then in season 2, it was made up that like Sosuke was going to be the antagonist, like coming in and knowing Rin from the past. But in reality, no, he's another protagonist. And then, we've got these new characters. And at first, I thought that Akuya was going to be like an antagonistic character because he's kind of set up like that. He's kind of like Haru, but not. So I'm like, is he going to be like Haru's competition while Rin's in Australia? And at first it seemed like, yeah, and that may still hold true if Akuya ends up being our antagonist, because Akuya, I already see the writing on the wall. He has the Rin syndrome of, I don't need anybody else. He's kind of like Rin and Sosuke put together in that respect, where he's like, I don't need anybody else, I just want to do what I want. So I'm like, oh, are you going to be like antagonistic until Haru teaches you the value of friendship? But here's the thing. I think Akuya might be a fake out antagonist, and Hiyori might be my crackpot theory is that Hiyori is our antagonist in this. I could be wrong, but Hiyori is extremely flirty with Akuya, like very, very flirty. Like, oh, I thought that suit looked good on you, and why didn't you get that? And you're so stubborn, but I like that about you. And it's like, dude, you're kind of flirty. You are a flirt, and not like Kasumi flirty, because Kasumi's not flirty. Kasumi's just handsy. Kasumi just likes touching people and like high-fiving and like grabbing their shoulders and stuff, but he's not flirty about it. He's just really nice. Hiyori seems kind of flirtatious, so I'm curious to see his character more. And in the ED, it looked like he was next to Mako, so it's like, I'm like, is he a backstroke character? Is he, because he said he was a swimmer. He was swimming with Ikuya, so I'm like, interesting. But so yeah, the thing with Sosuke and then Hiyori and Ikuya, and they're getting suits for an opening ceremony, but in the OP it looked like Akuya had a different track jacket on than Haru. So I wonder obviously there's Tokyo's huge, so there's multiple universities. So I wonder if Akuya and Hiyori are at one university in Tokyo, and Haru and Mako and Kasumi and Asahi are in another, because I think Asahi might be at the same university as Haru, which would be interesting. Very interesting indeed. And, or it could be that Akuya and Hiyori are at the same university as Asahi and Haru, because if Hiyori does the backstroke, Mako is not competitively swimming. He's going to school and full time, and he doesn't have time for the competitive swim team. So that would make Hiyori taking Mako's place for backstroke. And then in the tournament that Sosuke saw, Ikuyo was doing breaststroke, and then that would leave Asahi doing butterfly and Haru doing free. Aha! Aha! So it could be that Asahi, Haru, Akuya, and Hiyori end up on a team together, which would be very interesting, especially with how Hiyori has been kind of shady about Haru in these last couple episodes. That could be quite interesting. Indeed. I'm going to hold out and see what episode 1 gives us, but that theory is floating around in my head now. So Ren's in Australia. Natsuya is in LA. He's in San Francisco in California with a traveling team, it looks like. And he's been keeping in touch with Nao, which I think is very sweet. And I love that Nao has kept all his souvenirs. It kind of reminds me of Sosuke a little bit. We're keeping the letters from Rin. And in the one preview, I thought it showed Natsuya next to Rin, which is interesting, because I thought, Natsuya still swims, so he might compete against Rin as well. And I've always, since starting days, I've thought that Nao and Natsuya have a very Sosuke Rin vibe, but then a lot of people are like, Nao's also kind of like Mako too, so it's just a weird dynamic. But yeah, and as soon as he pulls out that picture of that kid, he's like, I didn't get to say goodbye to him. It's like, yeah, you're going to say goodbye to him by the end of episode 12, aren't you? But, oh man, guys. And then seeing Ray and them, Ray look, somehow, and I don't know if it's just me thinking, if it's just in my head or not, but in this episode, Ray and Nagisa looked a little bit more mature. Like, they looked a little bit more like third years. And it's like compared to how they looked in season 1. And I'm like, oh, especially Ray. And I was like, oh, are you guys growing up? That's so sweet. Like, So yeah, this was a really good setup episode and getting us on board with where these characters are. And Mikashiba's running around somewhere, so I don't know which school he's with, but he's there too. So I am going to be very, very, very curious to see next episode when we start this season where everybody is at. Like what schools everyone's at, what positions in swimming everybody's doing. Mako is obviously not competitively swimming, but I like that Kasumi's going to be there too. And that makes so much sense because episode 8 of season 2, that whole episode was building up Mako's friendship with Kasumi and letting us, the audience, know how good of friends they are. It all makes sense now because it's like Mako and Kasumi are probably going to see each other a lot because neither of them swim. Like Kasumi's doing basketball and Mako is just, help doing his studies. So yeah, that makes so much sense. Setting things up. So I'm all for a setup and a payoff in a show, and so far Free has done an excellent job of setting up plot points and paying them off. And so I'm very, very curious because we've got a lot of characters now, and I can easily see how, like this episode, we were going back and forth between all these characters, and I can see how that's probably going to be how this season is because we've got so many characters to work with, and we can't all have them in the same room at the same time because it's not like the last 2 seasons where it's been high school and high school. Now it's the real world and it's universities and everybody has different schedules. But honestly, I'm okay with it because I want to see them go back and forth between all these locations and see what these characters are doing. So I can see this season, some people said it's different than season 1 and season 2, and I can already see how that would be because you have so many characters in different places. But I'm okay with that because I like these characters a lot. Like I've said in previous reactions, I'm more of a character-driven person when I watch shows. Like I watch for the characters and for the stories that they get involved in, but not necessarily for the story itself. So I'm all about a good character-driven story, and Free has been really good in that respect the last 2 seasons and through these movies. and in this episode too. So I'm curious to see how that is explored more in season 3, if it is. I don't know. But in any case, this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. I hope y'all did too. It has got me hyped up for season 3. It really does. And I want to savor season 3 because it's the last season. As I told you, I wasn't going to talk about it anymore until we're on hiatus, until the movie comes out. So, yeah. But I'm excited, y'all. I think it should be pretty good. I also like that Rin and Go's mother is trying to set Go, being like, oh, you got a date? Are you going out? Mm-hmm. And Go's like, no. And it's like, no, Mom, we just had this in the last episode. We almost had the confusion of her Momo dating. We don't need this again. So, I don't know. I ship Rin, but I also am kind of a fan of Sosuke and Go. I think that's also a good ship too, because Sosuke's so kind to Go that I'm like, I could see it. I'd be fine with it if that's what happened. I like Rin more, but if Sosuke ended up with Go, as long as he's part of the Matsuoka family, I'm fine with that. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, next week we are going to start Dive to the Future, episode 1, season 3. I'm pretty excited. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.